Hello everyone, this is Pam Cheek. I'm a travel agent with over 20 years of experience in the travel industry. And today I'm coming to you from beautiful Maui, Hawaii, where I'm on vacation, talking to you about going to beautiful Alaska. Doesn't get much better than that. So here we go. Today we're going to talk about how to choose the best cruise tour for 2027. Now I have gone through 12 pages of information put out by Princess just to be able to narrow it down so that you don't have to. So here we go. Let's talk about a few things to decide when you want to choose an Alaska cruise tour. First of all, you need to understand that not all cruises can connect to a cruise tour. They have to be cruises that go northbound, southbound, not round trip, because they don't go far enough north to get to Whittier. So you're going to start by deciding what you want in regard to the tour, the land portion, and then you're going to connect the dots to which cruise you want to have it connected to. Let's talk about that a little bit. There's several options. You can start in Vancouver and end up in Whittier, which is a northbound cruise, or you can start in Whittier and end up in Vancouver on a southbound cruise. Let me tell you a little bit of difference between those. Okay, so when you're going northbound, your ports are going to most likely be Skagway, Juneau, and Ketchikan, but sometimes those are switched out. So you might have Icy Strait instead of Ketchikan, or you may have something else. There's some little detail differences in the itineraries. So once you decide on your cruise tour, the land portion, then you need to look closely at what that connects to. If you're doing southbound, then you're going to go to Juneau, Skagway, and Ketchikan, not necessarily in that order. That is what I would recommend as the better option, mostly because you get the land tour done first. You get the longest flight out of the way, because I like starting in the far north and then moving southbound all the way so that I have a short flight home at the end. That's my favorite way to do it, and it would be my recommendation to you. But some people really like the excitement of starting in the south and moving farther and farther and farther into the wilderness. And if that's you, then that's a great choice. There's nothing wrong with it. I always say you can't do Alaska wrong, but you can do it better or not as good. So I'm here to help you do it better. The next thing that's really important is timing. There's some really different things that happen from April to September. One of the things you want to be careful of when you're booking a cruise tour is to not start too early in the season. Even though they're selling it, the roads may not be open yet. If it's been winter with a lot of snow, you could get there and not all the stores are open yet. The roads may not be open yet into Denali. And so I recommend not starting a cruise tour on land until the middle of June. And then on the other end, depending on what you want to do, you need to pay attention to how activities fit into that timing. For instance, just like you don't want to get to Denali before the roads are open, if you're wanting to have an experience with sled dogs on the ice, you need to do that earlier in the season, because by mid-August, sometimes even earlier, the 24 hours of sun in Alaska melts the ice enough that it gets mushy, and they need to take the dogs off of the ice for their own safety. So if you are wanting to sled dog, you need to not go in September. It's too late. Maybe it could happen, but it's not likely. The other thing to think about is a lot of people want to see northern lights. Well, you're not going to see northern lights when there's 24 hours of daylight. And you need to be as far north and as dark as possible. So in that case, you're looking at September as your ideal time to go. Now, having said all that, I cannot guarantee northern lights. I cannot guarantee the sled dogs will be, running. And certainly I can't guarantee that you're going to see wildlife. Wildlife is wild, but you can up your odds by going during specific times. For wildlife, the best time is when the salmon are running, and that's from about mid-June until about mid-August. The predators all come to the food is the salmon, and so those are your prime times to see wildlife. So now we've talked about timing. We don't want to go too early, we don't want to go too late, or maybe we want to go real late because our big hope is seeing those northern lights. And so you have to decide what it is that's important to you. The next thing to think about is choosing your itinerary, and then the last thing you want to think about is choosing your ship. I just did a YouTube video on how to choose your cruise or your ship in Alaska, and I'm going to refer you to that video because I don't want to take up all our time today talking about the same thing I've already talked about. So let's talk about land itineraries. Now let's start with the length of time. The most important thing is how much time can you spend there exploring? Please know that you are visiting an area the size of Texas, and I live in Texas. And if you were to tell me, Pam, I'm coming to Texas and I'm going to see it in 3 days, I would laugh at you because there's no way you're going to see Texas in 3 days. And yet, a lot of people want to buy the 3-day cruise tour that only spends literally 3 days touring an area as big as Alaska. Do they sell it? Yes. Can you buy it? Yes. Are you going to be disappointed? Yes. I have never had anyone tell me I stayed in Alaska too long. But I hear all the time, Pam, I should have listened to you. I should have stayed longer. So please take this seriously. I tell my own clients, if you can only go for 3 days, you might consider waiting another year, saving more money, working out a time frame that you can do it, and at least get there 4 to 5 days. It does make a difference. So, having said that, if you can only go for 3 days and your heart is set on it and you're bound and determined to do it, the tour I'm going to recommend, not recommend, but yes, I will give you an option. If you must do a 10-day cruise tour, which is 7 days on the water, 3 days in Alaska, my recommendation for 2027 is Tour C, as in Charlie. It's a 7-day Voyage of the Glaciers tour. It spends 1 night in Fairbanks and 2 nights in Denali Park at the Denali Princess Lodge. So that at least gives you time to go into Denali for a day on your way to Fairbanks, or opposite that, start on water and end up on land, start on land and end up on water. Now that I've said that, let's talk a little bit about the new coding. Princess has changed some significant ways that they label their cruise tours from what we've had all along to what's going to be labeled in 2027. All the cruise tours have a 3-letter code. The first letter of the code is the itinerary, A, B, C, D, and on from there. And the farther you get down the alphabet, the more days you're spending on land. All of them connect to a 7-day cruise tour, cruise. And it's really important that you understand what you're booking. So, for instance, I just told you that I would recommend a C tour, C is in Charlie, for a 3-night stay in Alaska. This makes me sad to even say it. Please don't do it. But if you must, you must. Let me explain it. C is the tour. The second thing in the 3-letter code is A or B. Really simple. A means that the tour is after the cruise. B means the tour is before the cruise. So if you wanted to go for a 3-night, starting in Denali, ending up on the cruise, you would do a C, sorry, I said that wrong. A C, B, and 3. The 3 is for how many nights you're on land. So CB3 would be 3 nights on the itinerary I talked about, and it would be before the cruise. The B in the middle is before. The A is after. So if you were going to do after, it would be CA3. So that's it. There's two choices, CA3, CB3. The only difference between those is if it was before the cruise or after the cruise. Otherwise, it's exactly the same itinerary. And that's going to be true all the way through. Now, here's where Princess did a little turn on us. This year, instead of having the basic cruise tours, which used to be called On Your Own, and On Your Own just meant that there's nothing else included. It's just your transportation and your hotel. Those are the least expensive, but I'm going to suggest that unless you love hiking and doing things just totally on your own, I would not book them, because you're going to end up adding so many excursions. You're going to end up spending more money in and on your own than if you would have done an Explorer tour that had some of those things included. So I am going to tell you right now that all of those are now called, instead of On Your Own, they're called Denali Essentials, and that's what they'll come up under on the Princess website. And they all have an X as the last letter. So those start with AX, ABX, and the X is the essentials. It has nothing included except your hotels and your transportation. That's all I'm going to talk about those, folks, because I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, and those are not what I normally recommend. So let's go to the next thing you need to understand. There used to be a separate itinerary name for things that were called off the beaten path. Now they've taken away the title Off the Beaten Path, and they've included all of those in the Denali Explorer category. So there's a lot of Denali Explorer categories now. They go, let's see, all the way up to ooh, boy, there's a lot of them. Q, RSTU. Okay, they go almost the whole alphabet. So this is why you want to pay attention to listening to people who know what they're talking about and that have been there, because there are so many to sift through. I'm sure all the time I get calls from people saying, hey Pam, can you help me? I cannot figure out for the life of me the difference between this one and this one and this one. Which one's better? And that's what a good TA can do for you. So let's talk about Denali Explorers, and then we'll talk about the last category. Denali Explorers all include some kinds of excursions into Denali Park. Now, they start out with 10 nights. I've already told you nix the 10 nights, but if you have to, do the sea tour. So we're going to go on from there. All of them, that's the only 3-day I would even consider. They then go to 11 nights, which is 4 days on land, and your 7-day cruise. Again, we're looking at things like GA4 and GB4. 4 means it's 4 nights. The letter is before or after, and G is the tour. So there's 2 I'm going to recommend. One is southbound, one is northbound, depending on what you want to do. If you're thinking about 11 nights, which I consider absolute bare minimum, then you would want to do G and either, well, this one I'm going to suggest you do southbound, because there's a difference between the southbound and the northbound. If you're doing a southbound cruise, I would suggest the GB4. GB4 includes 1 night in Fairbanks and the Sternwheeler Riverboat Cruise, which is really cool. I'm not going to tell you about it because I don't want to spoil it, but it's really, really fun. I loved it. 1 night in Fairbanks, 2 nights in Denali Princess Lodge, which gives you a day to go into Denali, and it includes the natural history tour, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Then it has 1 night at the Mount McKinley Princess Wilderness Lodge. That's the place where you're most likely to get a chance to see Denali, and you really need to get up early in the morning most of the time to see her, because cloud cover comes down and she hides in the clouds and you don't get to see all of her. But that is the place that you're most likely to be able to see her. And then you go from McKinley down to Whittier and get on the ship to go southbound. That would be GB4. Now, I said I was going to give you a northbound also. If you're going to go northbound, I would recommend the H tour, and that would be HA4. H is the tour, 4 is the number of nights, and of course A is after. So this would be a northbound cruise. I like this because you get 2 nights at Denali Princess Wilderness Lodge and 2 nights in Fairbanks, which includes both the Natural History Tour, the Stern Wheel Riverboat Cruise, and the Gold Dredge, boy, say that 3 times fast, the Gold Dredge 8 Tour. Those are all really good, and they are included in the price. You already have those without even adding an excursion. Let's talk a minute about that Tundra Wilderness Tour and the Natural History Tour. Both tours are 5 hours long right now. By 2027, hopefully the new roads are going to be open. There was a huge mountain slide several years ago that has closed the back area of Denali for about 4 years now. And they're doing a marvelous job of rebuilding new roads. And if they're open, you may be able to go even farther into Denali on the Tundra Tour. The Tundra Tour is an upgrade, and it goes deeper into the park. The Natural History Tour does not go as deep into the park, but you stop and you hear explanations about the natural history of the area, the geology, things like that. So depending on what you're interested in, if you mostly want to see wildlife, I suggest that you upgrade to the Tundra Tour. Right now, with the roads as they've been, it's been a $35 upgrade per person to do that. And it does need to be called in. Either your travel agent needs to add it, or you can call Princess yourself and get it added. It will not come up on the computer to be able to switch those out on your own. It takes Princess doing it. So depending on what your interests are, I generally recommend my clients go to the Tundra Tour so they get farther into the park, more opportunities to see the wildlife. And again, wildlife is not guaranteed, it's wild. So don't set your heart on seeing wildlife, set your heart on seeing Alaska. Let the wildlife be icing on the cake, but not the cake itself. Alaska is amazing, even without wildlife. All right, that's enough on that. Let's go back to itineraries. We've just talked about 11 nights. Now, I'm going to start talking about things I would really recommend, because I don't really recommend a 10-day tour or an 11-day tour. They're just too short. So let's talk about, okay, Pam, what if I have 12 days? Well, if you've got a 12-night tour, I'm going to suggest J, and of course then it's either A or B, and the number's going to be 5 because now we're up to 5 nights in the interior of Alaska. And there's 2 12-night that I would recommend. The first one is J, and that one will take you 2 nights in Fairbanks with the Stern Wheeler and the Gold Dredge Tour, 2 nights in Denali Princess Wilderness Lodge with the Natural History Tour, and 1 night at McKinley Lodge, where you may be able to see Mount Denali, and then on to the cruise. That's a really nice 5-day. The other one is 1 night in Fairbanks, 2 nights at Denali Princess, and then ding, 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 2 nights in Kenai Peninsula. I love Kenai Princess Wilderness Lodge. I am in love with that part of Alaska. Everybody goes because they want to go to Denali, but let me tell you what, I completely fell in love with the Kenai area. So I think that that is a wonderful option, and that one would be L as in Lima, either A or B, and of course 5 on the end. Either of those are amazing, but if it was me, I would be going to Kenai. All right, that's 12-night cruise tours. But Pam, I have 13 nights. Yeah, let's forget about 13 nights. If you can go for 13, you need to go for 14, because 14 is a magic number. With 14, you can get PB7, which is one of my absolute favorite cruise tours. It starts in one of my favorite places, of course, Fairbanks. 2 nights in Fairbanks, 2 nights in Denali, 1 night at McKinley, and then ding, 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 2 nights at Kenai Princess Lodge before you get on the ship. That is an amazing cruise tour, and I really highly recommend it. Now, we're gonna jump a minute from P to the letter W, because Princess has broken out what they call the National Parks Explorer. And when you look at it, you're gonna think, this looks awfully familiar. It's 2 nights in Fairbanks, 2 nights at Denali, 1 night at McKinley, 2 nights in Kenai, and a 7-day voyage of the glaciers. Isn't that what you just said, PB7? Yep, it is what I just said, PB7. But the W itinerary includes the Kenai Fjords National Park Cruise, which I have never had anybody say they didn't love it. It's an amazing cruise. You see glaciers, you see whales, you see seals, you see all kinds of stuff. It's an amazing cruise in Kenai. It also includes the Tundra Wilderness Tour, so you don't need to think about upgrading from the Natural History Tour. It's already in there. And Fairbanks, you get the Riverboat Cruise and the Gold Dredge Tour. So you have extra already built into the price excursions that are wonderful in the W, and it would of course be WA or WB7 if you want them. Now, I haven't seen pricing on these yet, so I don't know what the difference in price is going to be between the PB7 and the WB7, but either of those is a win-win-win, and I would personally do them in a second, any of them. So let's talk about what else is out there. We have a 15-night cruise tour, and this one starts 1 night in Fairbanks, 2 nights in Denali, 1 night at McKinley, 2 nights at Kenai, 2 nights at Copper River Princess Wilderness Lodge before the 7-day voyage of the glaciers. Now, Copper River is way out, isolated area. It's very rustic. It's very mountainous, hiking. There's not a lot of things to do per se that are developed for you. It's a very undeveloped area in a very natural state. You can see the tops of multiple mountains from there. It's very pretty. If going to Copper River is important to you, I would do the 15-night tour and add it in. It does exist in some of the ones I didn't talk about, and if you wanted to know more about that, you'd be welcome to contact me or get on Princess once the tours go live on August the 5th. If you have 15 nights, that's a great addition, as you get both of those. And then we have another 15-night that I am like ringing my bells about, but it's part of what we haven't talked about yet. In the past, we had a whole category that were called connoisseur tours. And on those, you have a host with you that helps you along the way, that explains things, that stays with you from the time that you get to the hotel till the time that you go to the ship. And they're full of knowledge, and they help make sure everything's taken care of, from your luggage to your rooms. Instead of calling that a connoisseur tour now, they've changed it to the Denali Escorted tour, which I think makes perfect sense because it's all about the escort. It's all about having that personal service. And they also have more excursions built into the itinerary, and most of your meals are included. So there's a lot of extras in the Denali Escorted tour that you wouldn't get anywhere else. They start with 5 nights and they go up to 8 nights. And the one I'm going to point out to you right now is U, which of course would then have a letter. In this case, it's only B. It's only offered before the cruise. So UB8, this is a really cool itinerary. 2 nights in Fairbanks River Lodge, which of course includes the Stern Wheeler Riverboat and the Gold Dredge Tour. 2 nights at Denali Denali Princess Wilderness Lodge, and that one includes the Tundra tour, so you don't have to upgrade. And then you get 1 night in McKinley, and then you get 3 nights, ding, 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 3 nights in Kenai at the Princess Wilderness Lodge, which I would love to do that one. It's in my sights, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with that yet, but that is an amazing cruise tour that is both escorted. You have a lot of meals included. You have really cool excursions already included. And I say do it. I say do it. That one's awesome. Okay, there is one last Denali Escorted tour I want to tell you about, and this is V as in Victor, either A or B, and it is a beauty. 17 nights. You spend 2 nights at each of the parks, and so you have 2 nights at Copper River, 2 nights in Kenai, 2 nights at Mount McKinley, 2 nights at Denali, and 2 nights in Fairbanks. That covers it all, folks. All the national parks are covered in there that Princess goes to. All of the lodges are included. And again, it's escorted, so you have someone with you. You have a lot of your meals included. I didn't read off all the inclusions that come with that, but those will be available to see for yourself once the information comes out on princess.com, again on August 5th. Please choose your cruise tour first, and then choose your cruise and your ship based on what the options are at that point. Please don't make this mistake. A lot of people think they can just book a cruise and then later on they can add the land. That is not how it works. They are built as a single cruise tour. So you need to choose your land tour and choose your ship and book it as a single package. Otherwise, if you wait a while, you could go back and the price has gone way up and you're like, what happened? Well, what happened is there is less accommodations on land than there is on the ship. So obviously cruise tours are going to sell out and prices are going to go up faster than the cruise price if you're only doing the cruise. So please book it as one piece. You have to think of it as a cruise tour, not as a cruise with a tour added. I am super excited about the 2027 cruise tours. There's some amazing options. If you have a local travel agent, we ask that you please use them as long as they are experienced and they know what they're doing. Make sure that they have actually gone to Alaska, that they have actually experienced the Princess ships, because it does make a difference. Until you go there, you don't really know all the fine points, all the moving parts. This is a cruise that is more complicated than any other cruise I have ever booked. So make sure whoever you're using knows what they're doing. If you don't have a local travel agent who is experienced in Alaska, feel free to contact one of our group. We are happy to help you. You can contact me directly at my email address, or you can contact us via Facebook. Our group for Princess in Alaska is called Alaskan Cruises on Princess. My personal adventure page is Loving the Journey. You're welcome to come in and see us there and learn a lot about Alaska and of course all the other places we're going, like Maui right now. And we'd love to have you along for the ride. I'm Pam Cheek. I'm loving the journey, and this has been Alaska Cruise Tours 2027.